Woman with long hair in my husband's lap. Edit added note after reading comments, did not mean anything gross that my husband came out ahead. Was referring to the situation, no innuendo intended lol. Once when I was on an 8-hour flight, the woman in front of me flipped her long hair over the back of her seat right into my airline meal. I didn't care too much because I had finished eating, but it still pissed me off. So I gently adjusted my food tray so more of her hair was soaking in the chicken in brown sauce. Not my problem. She put it there first. And then she had to spend the next 7 hours with airline food goo in her, luxurious hair. Shit, she's lucky I wasn't in your husband's place. I would have pressed my knees up against her nasty hair and thereby pinning it to the back of the chair. If you're going to invade my space, there's a price to pay. Every single time she moves her head, her hair is getting pulled. I'm sure it wouldn't take long for her to move that shit. No empathy for people who behave like asshats. That's so ridiculous though. I used to have really long hair and I would never have put it over the back of the chair. That's not where long hair goes. If you're going to have long hair, that hair still needs to stay in your personal space instead of someone else's. There aren't different rules for hair. Not a bad revenge at all. Your husband is silent but deadly. In a naughty way. Did she care about his feelings? She's afraid not. A gal sat in front of me in my psychology class and would flip her hair on my desktop. It annoyed me so much that I would arrive early to move her desk up about 4 inches. Occasionally she would notice her desk moved and move it back to its original spot. When she did this, I would strategically hold down several of the hairs with my pencil eraser and wait for her to move. When she did, it would pull those hairs out of her head. It gave me some satisfaction to see those hairs pull out. Passive-aggressive behavior for a psychology class. Satisfyingly so. Nicely done. If there was an interval, would have bought boiled sweets, and a few are likely to accidentally come out of my mouth. At speed. Bravo. If she doesn't want to bring her hair forward over her shoulder and sit it in her lap, why should he have it in his lap? A very different story than I expected. I thought she was going to be sitting in his lap, but no, she had decided it was her hair rest. Hilariously odd and audacious. That was incredibly rude of her. I wear my very long hair up in public so that it doesn't get into other people's personal spaces. My mom tells an anecdote about how someone was doing the same thing to my dad at a baseball game. My mom went and got a hot dog with all the fixings and got my dad to hold it on his knee. The girl was not impressed but kept her hair to herself after that. She's lucky he didn't stick gum in it. Or worse. As I've suggested to other folks, guys who have had this happen, very gentle, slow rhythmic tugging, accompanied by slow, quiet, rhythmic moaning, increasing in speed and volume. He should have knotted her hair around the chair. See how easily she could get that out. I sat behind a dreadlock goth girl in her early 20s during a play. Mezzanine level, so we were already too close for comfort. She hit me with her hair each time her head moved. It smelled gross and I'm not into that. So I shifted to the side and quietly pinned one of those poopy hair logs between my knee and the back of her chair. The next whip of her head nearly removed her scalp. She permanently retracted the rest of her stinky brain tentacles and I had an enjoyable evening. Man, I would have been dipping her hair in every sauce they had available at the concession stand. Gum oops. Honestly, if she'd hit me in the face intentionally with it, I'd have told her if she couldn't keep her hair to herself, I'd cut it off and return it to her. But this was good too. I have long hair and I am appalled by all of these stories about my fellow mermaids Lady Godivas making a disgusting nuisance of themselves. If I wear my hair loose, I have at least 2 hair ties, a set of hair sticks or something similar so I can contain it if needed. I applaud your husband's creativity. Bet she's not going to do that again. Bravo for the clever revenge serves her right for being so rude and entitled. Girls with crazy long hair always make it their entire personality. Treat me like royalty because I have long beautiful hair. Husband for the win, and the crowd silently cheers. To those who have really long hair, can you not feel it? Picture it. Elementary school, 1980s. My blonde-haired classmate loved to recline and lay her hair across my desk. I asked her nicely to stop several times, and she didn't, so I cut it straight across. It was just enough to prove a point. She didn't do it again. I had someone do this to me on a plane once. She was hanging her insanely long hair over the back of her seat and flicking it to hit my face periodically. I was chewing gum at the time, and was very tempted. I just tolerated it and then bitched about it later like the polite British person I am. Always carry fingernail clippers in your purse. She could have gotten a nice haircut by the end of the show. I'd call it a tie. Treats her right for tangling with him. I have long hair. I always sweep it to one side or the other and keep it in the front of my shoulder out of people's space. What your husband did was funny and she deserved the knots. I think it's gross to hang your hair over a chair that millions have sat on. Yikes. He did it in self-defense. No jury would convict him. Good for him. Too bad he didn't have a pair of scissors. Seriously, my husband is super tall and have told her to keep her nasty hair to herself, and out my husband's lap before she leaves with a bob. This why I hate people utterly rude. Loud uncovered sneezing fixed this for me on a Piria coach bus ride back in the 90s. While he was knotting her hair, she probably thought he was playing with her hair. I've had long hair before, and I always knew when someone was touching it. She should be grateful it wasn't chewing gum. Similar thing happened to me. I faked a big sneeze and blew it directly into her hair. Probably felt like I spit into it by how forceful I blew into it. She quickly moved it. I would have tied her to the chair with it. Wasn't it long enough to discreetly drop to the floor again in order to step on it? Too bad he wasn't able to tie it around anything. Knots would have been even harder to get out if he accidentally spilled his drink right before getting ready to leave. Oops. Similar thing happened to me in middle school. I cut her hair though. Maybe tying it in knots would have saved me a suspension. I used to have very long hair and may have been guilty of a careless dangle. I cut it in my 20s, after teenagers sitting behind me on public transport winked into it on a long bus journey. They got off the bus before I realized edit for typo. Love this. I'd have given her a haircut, trimmed it up, so she can't do this to people. I'd have tied her to the chair. I never understand why people tolerate this. I would tell that woman to keep her hair on her own side of the seat if she didn't want gum in it. Good one. Though your husband must have missed the show. If you had a gum in the bag, then that would probably have done a nastier job, especially if it's a bit spread out a bit. She won't have noticed until she was going to brush her hair. She may have had to cut some strands out to get rid of the gum-infused hair. Then again, your husband sounds a lot nicer than me. Good for him. Lucky for your husband that I'm not his wife, 'cause I'd scraped the floor with that BTCH. No one hits my man with her hair except me. She deserved that. He certainly did come out ahead. Good on him. I can't believe there are ignorant people who have never heard this phrase before. As someone with long hair, I would never put my hair over the seat. I'd have it between my back and the seat or in a bun. IDK, what's been on those seat backs? I would have used the hair to tie her to the chair.